Hey guys, Liminal Luke Von Karma here. Just want to let you know, before this they were just talking about the state of the game, and that's all the context you need for this. Enjoy the video.
Games honestly financially filter out people for the past few years. I haven't played any competitive before, and thanks to the 2020 Master Duel, I've gone to enjoy the content of numerous YouTubers, and I've seen the slow downfall of this game. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad because Master Duel is like the way you can experience Yu-Gi-Oh without spending thousands of dollars. Because like I'm very fortunate. I have a plethora of staples that I've accrued through playing with friends, buying them once they've become cheap and irrelevant. For example, like I can buy like Appaloosa now, very cheap. She got banned. Oh, I can buy Lightning Storm, got semied. Like that's nice. I have a ton of staples, but but not many people are as fortunate, right? So if you're trying to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, maybe even a year or two, like good luck, good luck. Like it's already hard to get those staples, right? Like I appreciate that the like some of the staples like Ash, etc., are easy to get, but if it's not those, sometimes you'll just hit like a $40 card for no reason. And it just sucks. It just sucks. You say Master Duel is waste potential, but honestly, I think the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG is the epitome of waste potential. Well, that's true. That's a different conversation. I just like, at least Master Duel feels the more wasted potential because TCG, like, I don't know what to say. Like, they're always disappointing me, man. I don't know what the TCG I expect. Master Duel's a CCG, so I'm like I have a little bit more of an expectation for them because it's not paper, and it's code, and they can do things wherever they want. But the topic, I like Fool Loss. Cool, man. Sure, it's not what I'm talking about. Let's debate. Fool. I haven't played against Fool Loss. I don't know if it's good or not. The topic, if it's good, great. I'm glad it's good. You know what I don't like? That it costs $100 fucking. Like I'm happy for Yu-Gi-Oh players that if the format's okay. Haven't tried it yet. It just came out. Pick up, die. You're sick. I'm not picking shit up. God. How much is Fool Loss? This stupid fucking card. It's $132. Holy fuck. $129, the cheapest. Nope, just one. $130. That's the consistent price. This is Volt. What do you want?
Yeah, I didn't actually want to talk about Fool Loss. Damn, I'm like really sick. Thank you for moving that recording.
Yeah,
I've
of
been really
course.
bad all day.
Yeah, you should rest.
But I did want to say, damn, everyone got in their feelings about the fucking Adderall tweet.
Oh my god.
I
Dude,
felt
you poked the biggest bear. I didn't understand how big of a bear you poked, but not to say names, but there were a lot of pros who came out to be like, Joseph, you're very wrong. And I'm like, why y'all responding to this?
well, there were a lot of pros who were like, "Oh yeah, all the pros I know do Adderall."
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
no, I don't know. The people who do it know they do it, and the people who don't do it probably have the impression that no one does it, but like, come on, be reasonable.
Yeah, that's I was like, come on.
uh, I will say it felt kind of weird because everyone was like, Joseph, why are you coming down so hard on these people? And I was like, I said that it's okay. I said I don't
It's funny
care. I
because you
said
were
you
like,
can do
personally,
Adderall.
I don't really care that much. You do what you
No,
do, but
it wasn't even that much. I don't care at all. If you want to do Adderall to play children card game, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
yeah.
Like
I
the only
also
time I
like
think it's kind of indefensible is during pill shortages. But
yeah,
like,
that's where Leah got pretty upset because obviously she had a pretty frustrating time. She mentioned it on stream a couple times and on her like socials that she had tough trouble getting meds because she needs them for to live. ADHD and Vyvanse and
mhm.
when you hear like Yu-Gi-Oh players being like, I want to switch, like I'd be pretty pissed too.
I don't know.
I get
It,
it if you need it,
it's
right?
strange because like,
Like you
what is it like?
don't take any Adderall or ADHD meds, so you're just like whatever. Like you're not
Well,
affected.
no. What I think DB Grinder, the most subtle DB Grinder he has ever been, by the way, had kind of a good point about it, which is, well, if you're not purchasing pharmaceutical grade, Adderall or something, you're getting them from a friend who has a pill presser. What's the problem? Like those aren't going to be in circulation for people with prescriptions. And I think the problem is just like something intuitively feels wrong about it. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I challenge I challenge the viewers to be like, what is the problem? Like,
Well,
what
my
is the
problem
issue
with
with it?
the pill pressing thing is that isn't it like they lose out on their regular prescription, but on purpose, right? They're trying to make a dime, right? I assume.
What do
And
you mean?
aren't they selling it, right? Or no?
No, I'm talking
How
about
does it work?
people who are making Adderall like in their home,
Oh,
people who are selling their
this is like
prescriptions.
DIY.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. That's huh. If
But people are saying, well, the problem is that that's dangerous, that people shouldn't be loading their system with chemicals. And like, that is true of all drug use. So the question
sure.
is, do you draw the line there? And if you do, why? Like there are
Mm,
people in here who are like, yeah, man, like you should be able to do like recreational drugs without fear of like police intervention. But this one, for some reason, is beyond the pale.
I think maybe it's. I mean, it's vibes. Definitely
It is
vibes.
vibes. I think it is vibes.
Which like is understandable. Well, I don't know. I think that most people will make the straightforward comparison. If you were playing any kind of competition and you found out your opponent was on some kind of thing that made them better and you weren't, that feels unfair, regardless of how silly it is, regardless of how they get it, regardless of all these things.
Yeah.
That route, I feel, is where people are. I think it's more the principle, right?
And that's, I guess, kind of an evolving conversation with like how we treat the Olympics and how we treat X
Right.
and Y all the time. It has a lot to do with people on specific medical regimens because of their internal biological chemistry are sequestered into the Paralympics because those regimens give them an advantage in certain events, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's just more an outgrowth of that topic.
Mm.
Um, but I think trying to be like, I mean, I'm going to be real with you. I think that it helps, but I don't think it's so crazy you're not going to beat anyone who's on Addies, you know?
Yeah. Uh, I think, I think maybe there's the
Problem, honestly, is a ton of pros just lying on the TL. They're all peeking on shit, and it caused a very explosive blowout with Chris and Hani. Oh, I didn't see that. That was
what?
like yesterday. I missed
Stop.
this.
That's so funny, dude. I don't follow like either of those guys for obvious reasons, but
I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off last year trying to get prescriptions filled, and the whole time it was because of Yugis. Well, Spence, I think DB Grinder would respond to that with, no, it wasn't.
yeah,
Like,
don't worry.
he and, well, people like him are getting Adderall from people with a pill press who just like have access to it. Not necessarily are buying it off, people with a prescription who got it to flip.
Yeah. And I think for those of you who might be like, "What Yu-Gi-Oh players?" Don't worry. We like we're
And the
such
other
a
thing is
small minority compared
the
to the
shortage wasn't a result of overuse by individuals.
right.
It was a result of like the fucking post-COVID supply chain issues
Right.
that were so fucking destructive. Um,
I understand being
you know,
defensive about it, but I do think that like the we are such a small minority compared to the people who may be doing this in other realms,
if
right?
Konami
Like,
says no meds during tourneys, then that solves that. Okay, you understand why that doesn't work, right? Like, what if I'm a guy who has ADHD and I need Adderall,
yeah.
to do my day to day? Like, I can't play Yu-Gi-Oh now. that's the thing, is that this is unenforceable, and that's kind of what the Olympics are rankling with as
Right,
well. Is
right.
like a lot of people just need medication to perform at a normal level,
Yeah.
even. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just
I'm so pro medication, it's unbelievable. I think.
this was such an insane second message in my chat. The only DIY drugs I do is estrogen.
But it's crazy. It's people who are like think how many, again, just think in your head how many times people in chat you've gone to bat for people doing like DIY estrogen type shit. Here's someone being like, I do DIY Adderall to focus better at events, and it's like, oh well, that is repugnant to me.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, but the question I want to ask you is why?
Because the difference between those two are Earth, like two different universes. One is a group of people who are marginalized to the kingdom come, and
Right,
like
ADHD sufferers.
no trans people. Come
No,
on.
Okay, well let's say someone
You can't.
isn't
You
trans
cannot. You
but
just
wants
cannot
to.
convince me the
Well,
difference
okay, well,
between
hold up.
like an
Hold up.
Adderall
Let's
guy who's
say
like, "Can I get Addies for a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament?" And hold on, versus a trans woman being like, "Well, my health provider will not give me estrogen. I guess I'll do it myself."
I mean, do you think that there are people with ADHD whose health providers are walling them off of stimulants? Because I'll give you a hint. The answer is yes.
Okay,
You know,
sure.
I think that
I think if those people try to get medicine, that's fine. Again,
I don't know. It just
different
seems, it just
scenario.
seems
This
so
is
weird.
like if
Yeah, but it just seems so weird to draw the line specifically here, where it's like you need to prove to me that you need this before I let you take the DIY.
what. I mean, you don't have to
That's
prove to me anything. I don't give a shit, but I
let's say okay. Let's
like,
say
I'm not going to.
hypothetically. Let's say I'm like a trans person,
Uh-huh.
or you know what? Actually, let me make this even easier. Let me say I'm not a trans person, and I feel like I would like to try estrogen recreationally. I can't get a script for it because obviously.
Uh-huh.
So I buy DIY. Have I committed some sort of like egregious fuck up?
Okay. No. But
Why
again,
not?
you are not affecting other people by doing a DIY estrogen to your own body.
Well, you know what? Actually, this one goes back in the pocket. Okay, let's say, but what people are you affecting by doing addies at locals?
The
You're affecting
competitors.
kids playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes. Like I don't know what to
I'm
tell
sorry,
you.
personally, I think that's nothing.
I mean,
think
that's
that like
yeah.
it's
I
not
mean,
enough
sure,
of an
that's
enhancement
fine if you
that I'm
think
going to
it's.
come down on someone for doing it to win a
I mean,
three-round local. And then honestly,
I'm not going to come down on someone either. I'm just telling you the difference. Like it's just a world of difference between someone,
so for you,
needing a
the
body
difference is.
kind of change to kind of help themselves get
Well, hold
better.
up.
Like,
I wanna remind you, my example, it has nothing to do with anything other than I want to try this recreationally.
okay, recreationally is the word, right?
Yeah.
It is not. I need this for a competitive. I need this for a competitive edge.
Yeah, I guess I would say that.
Right.
Well,
So you're not doing estrogen to get better
so
at
for
being
you, it's
like
a
someone else,
okay. So for
like
you,
in a
it's a question
competition.
of motivations.
Yeah, I think so. I think like I do think you even if we can't manage like it's impossible to like ever manage people taking drugs for like a thing. I do think it's fine to be like
There's no such thing as recreational controlled substances. What are you talking about,
do
Chad?
not read ever a Redux chat
Yeah,
message
you're right.
in
I
chat.
can't read chat. Okay.
Please.
No, but like, okay, let's think about it this way. So, we've established that someone who's taking pill-pressed Adderall isn't impacting any sort of supply chain, and it isn't trading off with prescribed Adderall,
Sure.
right? If that's the case, let's say you go to locals and you think, damn, I am not going to do well at locals. I'm just not focused. You know what? Before I go, why don't I take like some ibuprofen? I got a headache. Or why don't I take like a nootropic or emergency? Or why don't I listen to music while I'm playing so I can focus more effectively? You know, I think the thing that we are drawing the line on when it comes to Adderall is just like all of those, it helps you focus better. The difference is it's a drug. And like ibuprofen, also a drug, but like it's a drug that is illegal. I think we have to recognize that our own biases about a controlled substance are impacting our decision making with respect to this discussion.
Sure, but the comparisons you've made as examples are all things that do not affect you as powerful as Adderall.
What do you know?
What do you mean? What
For some
do you mean?
people,
This
Adderall works
is a
different for
tested
every person.
product. It's Adderall is much stronger than everything you've described.
Well, it works differently for every person. I mean,
Well,
Leah's
sure,
all
that's
through these
true.
threads saying
But like, you
for
need
many
a
people,
medical
it just makes them
professional to
jittery.
make that determination. You don't need a medical professional to tell you you can take ibuprofen. It's heavily studied.
Well, sir,
Same with like
medical
caffeine
professionals.
and nootropics. Like these are all like battle tested stuff that has been tested to
I would
shit.
argue. I mean, you know how many people with ADHD self-medicate with caffeine, right?
Sure.
I would argue that for someone with ADHD, they're going to see a similar outcome taking Adderall as they would drinking like 2 Monsters before Locals, right? But I'm not going to prevent them from drinking 2 Monsters before Locals, right?
Sure. That's, I mean, again, like, caffeine is, well, okay. Caffeine is just nowhere near the drug of Adderall. You like that is the comparison you're trying to make, and it
No,
just
I'm
doesn't
sorry.
work.
I don't, not to bring in like personal experience or anything, but like that is the thing that many people who have ADHD self-medicate with before they get on a stimulant.
I
They
understand that.
way overshoot caffeine, and caffeine in the concentrations necessary to get people with ADHD, even mild ADHD, to focus is much worse for you than Adderall or any energy drink. Like drinking like 7 cups of coffee a day will have worse health outcomes for you than popping a pill.
Okay, so you're describing a scenario where someone is accidentally self-medicating with caffeine, right?
No, it's very purposeful.
Well, I'm saying that like most of these scenarios are when someone doesn't kind of realize they need medicine to kind of combat their ADHD, so they go ham on caffeine, right? That's what you're describing, or no? You're
No, I
describing
mean, certainly, no. When I say a lot of people self-medicate, it usually, it doesn't necessarily have to be an accidental thing where they just think they're a person who needs 8 cups of coffee a day. It can be I don't have access through lack of health insurance or lack of a diagnosis to the stimulant necessary to get me to focus.
Okay. I think that I am completely fine with caffeine because it is not Adderall.
No, but yeah, I understand that position. I will be completely honest with you. I get that position. For me, I think it's a very arbitrary line that we've drawn that coincides with like a discussion of legality. Like for some reason we feel comfortable drawing the line there because that's where the law has drawn the line. I
mean,
think
is it the
as
law or is it science?
well, I mean,
like I'm asking because like I don't have the research behind it, right? Like I would love to check studies on like how like caffeine can be bad for you too. Too much caffeine, of course, is too much of anything.
it's one of the worst things you can do in extreme doses.
Right.
It's so fucking crazy bad for you.
It's very bad.
The law drew the line for a reason. The scariest thing I can ever read in
not
chat.
the law though, but like I think that what that chatter means is that people are allowed to drink caffeine because at a controlled dose, it is much less potent than
That's true.
meth.
Well, I'll be
And so-
completely honest with you. My understanding is that most of our understanding about long-term stimulants like Adderall that people intend to be on for a lifetime is pretty underdeveloped because our understanding of this drug as a mechanism to resolve ADHD is pretty underdeveloped because our understanding of ADHD is very nascent. Like it's like a last 50 years kind of thing.
Sure.
So we don't really have any long-term case studies to pull from. I think the reason that you've seen Adderall so closely guarded by the pharmaceutical industry is the result of sort of an overabundance of caution more than anything else. And I can respect that caution, but just from a moral perspective, I think you should be allowed to do what you want to your body with impunity, which means I think you should be allowed to take Adderall recreationally, which unfortunately means that you can use it to be better at a children's card game.
Like I understand what you're saying. I just still think that intent matters too.
Yeah, no, I understand that perspective for sure. I just don't. I think policing people's motivations is a really hard thing to do.
I'm not saying we have to. I'm just saying that like I personally like would feel like it's a weird way to kind of circumvent cheating. And like we spoke on how the Olympics is rankling with this because like they wouldn't be a tough subject for them if everyone thought the way you thought, right? Like
Well, yeah, of course. Well, the reason that I posted this is because it's in the uncomfortable discussions Paul thread. I think this is a really uncomfortable discussion.
it is.
And like I like even we could interrogate the cheating aspect of it. Is it cheating to be more focused than your opponent? Like I don't know if I can even really say that definitively. That's something that you can like
there's a conversation to
have
be
innately.
had that it I would say no in every card game but Yu-Gi-Oh, because Yu-Gi-Oh like I know it sounds like silly, but I legitimately think that Yu-Gi-Oh is a game that truly benefits from something like Adderall because of the like mass amount of kind of things to remember and focus on and like keep track of things that like
Well,
Adderall
actually,
enhances. I think that it's just like it's hard to compare Yu-Gi-Oh to any other card game due to kind of their own like they're one of the only card games that doesn't have a like a way to rotate the game, so 9,000 cards are legal, so you know you are
yeah,
constantly
I
evaluating a
understand it's
board
a
state that like feels crazy. And so I don't know, I just it's
I understand it's a I understand that. I will say I will go to bat for I think Adderall historically has been way more present in competitive Magic than in Yu-Gi-Oh. And personally, I think that a drug that improves your focus would better serve you in a game like Magic than a game like Yu-Gi-Oh, because you need to be able to evaluate like the decisions you are making with respect to the decisions you will be making 3 or 4 turns in advance. Yu-Gi-Oh, the focus element has to do with like playing around admittedly a pool of like maybe 10 hand traps and then managing 4 discrete points of interaction that your board always goes into, you know? In that way, I think the focus required for Magic over the course of a long game is much more than the focus required for Yu-Gi-Oh, because there are parts of Yu-Gi-Oh where you can just kind of tune out. And for that reason, I think that they're, if nothing else, they're a little comparable.
sure.
But I guess your response to that would be, well, then it's probably cheating for Magic as well.
Right. I was like, well, yeah, it's definitely cheating there too.
Yeah.
I think that but to put DB Grinder, not to put him on blast here, but he very immediately kind of responded the motivations as to why they take the Adderall is because they're going for first place. They're doing it for the competition. So like how do you rankle with like people who might be taking a performance enhancing drug and their motivation is, yeah, I want to cheat, I want to win,
Well, again,
I will
I
take
wanna,
the performance enhancing drug and cheat and win, not cheat, but you know what I
well,
mean.
yeah, well, that's kind of what I want to zero in on is like you are implying that doing that is cheating. And I would argue that it is not that much removed from getting a good night's sleep and remaining hydrated and eating in between rounds and taking time to debrief and go over your notes. And all of those things I think will have a bigger impact on your win rate than popping an Addy. I think the reason that we assume Adderall has an outsized effect and is an important part of that equation is because of our preconceptions about its legality. And
I
like
mean, I don't know. I
if you
think
want to
that I
if you
think
want to
that
draw the line there, that's fine. But
well,
I disagree with it.
I don't think that I think that you are conflating legality and the impact of the drug to your body. I think that there's a lot of research I'd like to do on Adderall and actually reference studies of like how powerful is Adderall, right? Like I think that's a worthy discussion, because if let's say the drug wasn't Adderall, but was in an even stronger drug like cocaine, like meth, or
You're not going to play well on coke.
like, bear with me here. If the
Yeah,
drug
I
was
understand.
like that bad, right? Like very bad for you, as soon as you take it, you are like high and like addicted and like etc. I think, you know, it would be
Let's
pretty
imagine
clear that like
a
that would be
heroin that's
bad.
10,000 times worse, but does make you good at Yu-Gi-Oh.
Right. Well, like that's what I'm saying though. Like I don't I think that you, so what I'm comparing is not that Adderall is cocaine, but just that I think that you are aiming at the wrong thing. I think you are thinking about this as, well, legally we can't do this. And I'm like, well, I don't mind about legality. I would just want to know how bad it is actually for your body. Because if it is that strong, through research, through scientists saying, yeah, Adderall is, you know, does this to your body and really should only be prescribed to you by a doctor who says, yes, this person does need this Adderall to function, their brain is fixed through studies, etc., rather than just kind of, oh, I just want it, right? Like I think that that's important, and I think that matters when making those decisions, because the difference between oh, I want caffeine, I get to sleep better, I drink water, is that those are all things that all of us can kind of do equally to kind of better ourselves, to be more focused, etc. But a drug that requires a kind of really comprehensive doctor and multiple studies to say, yeah, like we really don't want to give this to you unless you have this kind of debilitating mental disease, not disease, but mental kind of issue.
Yeah. What I would say to that is, I don't buy it. I won't pretend to be an expert when it comes to like the health effects of Adderall, right? But certainly if it is a drug that someone who has ADHD can take once a day for decades and not have debilitating health effects, I'm pretty sure that a Yu-Gi-Oh player can pop one every 2.5 months when they go to a YCS without any long-term health effects.
but like, sure,
Let's go.
that's like, but I don't know, like, is that true? Like you're just kind of saying that, like
I mean, I guess if it
no.
turns out that like if someone who was not prescribed Adderall takes Adderall at a YCS and it causes them to turn into like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I will eat my words on this one.
But I guess
My
that's my point, is that there are levels to this, and I think that Adderall is the level where I go, I don't know.
Exactly.
Can we pause? Like, I don't know, you know, like I'm not even that mad about it. Like, I agree with you. I don't care that much. I do think that Adderall is pretty useful for a lot of these undiagnosed ADHD people anyway, right? So
Well, they're
probably
undiagnosed, they're
probably
taking
half the pros who take the Adderall are probably ADHD, have ADHD, which is like,
they're bisexual millennials.
they're bisexual millennials, sure.
Right.
And maybe it legitimately helps them function and feel human, and they kind of, turns out they actually needed it anyway. I don't think Trish would mind me saying that he has ADHD and he has medicine that he takes because he needs it, and it's diagnosed by a doctor. I
Wait,
think
Trish has. Oh my god. I'm fucking with you.
bisexual millennial. And so, you know,
Trish, hey, DM me.
when he takes it, I feel like he's not doing it because he's trying to
Right, of
win
course,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
of course.
He's doing it
No, but
because
that's
he has ADHD and he wants to kind of live his life freely.
right. But you understand why that makes this such a thorny question. Is like a lot of these people are people for whom the medical system has failed them. They never even got tested for ADHD. Big surprise.
But those are
people
fine.
Who,
But that's
yeah,
fine.
well, people who are
You're describing a
neuroatypical, like,
scenario where
and
someone's trying to get
no. Let me come
ADHD.
on. Let me get to the end of this.
Mm.
I'm saying for a lot of these people, they never got tested because they never thought it was something they had. Big surprise. Neuroatypical people are drawn to this stupid fucking lawyers and rules card game. So then the question just becomes like, you would say someone with undiagnosed ADHD taking Adderall is fine. Why does that change if the person like does it at a YCS?
because
Is it
they're
just
not
a matter of motivation?
diagnosed. If that's
Yes, but you are saying undiagnosed people taking Adderall is fine.
if they have ADHD, yes.
But okay, then, then you understand the issue, right?
Well, no, I don't. Again, we roll back to the
You're
intent
saying
matters. If
undiagnosed people taking Adderall is okay. Undiagnosed people taking Adderall at a YCS is a problem. It's just a discussion of intent, right?
well, okay, if you're undiagnosed, but here's where I draw the line. If you think you have ADHD and you
Yep.
truly think you do, but you can't get a
Mhm.
diagnosis, that matters. If you don't think you have it and you focus pretty well and you don't like you live your life looking at the things that like you look at like a list of things that ADHD people do or whatever, like forget 3 times as much, whatever. List of these things, you go, like I don't. I remember most things. I don't forget usually things, whatever. Right? That's the person I'm talking about.
Yeah, like me, I don't have.
But then takes the drug because they say, "Oh, I want to win." Right? Like that's the person I'm talking about, not the person who can't get a diagnosis because they can't find a good doctor and they don't have the money or etc.
Hey,
And like,
I understand all of this, but from a logistics perspective, we like all of this is it's macro stuff, you know? Um, none of it is workable in terms of a policy.
sure,
You
sure.
know?
I understand your point of it is almost impossible to give a policy on this. That I agree with you. I 100%. It's very hard. I think some chatters mentioned chess and they flat out ban it and say like if you have a psycho kind of stimulant or whatever, like we're not gonna let you
Well,
play it. Which like I get that's something they
that
chose
sucks.
to decide.
That's
And
something I'm really happy we don't have in Yu-Gi-Oh,
sure,
actually.
like I get it. It's a decision to be made about the game, and I think that personally, I wouldn't mind if they were like, "Hey, you can't do that." But some people might not like that, and like I think it's fine if they were like, "You can't take drugs to play this game." Um,
I do like people going, why shouldn't we do it? Because the next YCS will have 15 people at it if we ban everyone with ADHD.
no,
Who
we're not gonna
you
ban
think
people with
plays this game?
ADHD. You just have to like
Sorry,
if
people on a stimulant are not allowed to attend, you know. I wonder who that would be.
No. I think that if I were to make the policy myself, for example, it would be much more
You
nuanced
missed
of,
see,
it's fine for you to
not
have
to argue with
Adderall if
chat
you have
here,
ADHD. Just
but
show me that you have a prescription or
you missed
whatever
the
and you
point
need
where
it.
they said you can prove it through prescriptions. You are asking people to disclose their medical information to play a children's card game.
Sure,
I
sure.
mean, that is ridiculous.
I
And we're going to bat earlier in this discussion for people who have ADHD but have been stonewalled by diagnoses, doctors who don't believe them, and a medical system that does not provide insurance to each person. You understand how all of those things could prevent someone from enjoying a card game for babies, right?
well, okay. So your argument is now that the game is not serious enough to care about it.
No, I'm not I'm not saying that at all.
But you
What I'm
you
saying
just
is
said it's
it
the
is a
game for babies and
yeah,
that's
well, it
what you
is a
want to
game for
do.
babies. But here's what I'll say. I don't think this game is so serious that you should be forced to disclose your medical evaluation when you enter it. I think that's
Okay.
like a gross, like egregious violation of privacy.
I kind of agree. I do think that like there's an argument to be made that like Yu-Gi-Oh is not so serious that I care about like Konami being like, hey, make sure you don't take this drug. I agree with that. While
Or
also
as Chad is advocating, show us your prescription.
sure, which like in a perfect world will be fine, but I think is very complicated. I think that I can also be like, that's kind of weird to me, dude. I don't think that's good. I can understand that policy wise for Yu-Gi-Oh, it's probably not even worth implementing due to kind of the way Yu-Gi-Oh works, the
No,
minority of the game,
there's no way to do this. To be
and
completely
there's
honest,
obviously
no
no
way.
way to do this for Yu-Gi-Oh because they don't give a shit about us. So whatever. And personally, I think Konami's so ass at everything that I would never trust them to do this properly. So
Yeah.
personally, I agree that I think they should never do this because they're fucking incompetent. But the part that I'm kind of arguing is that the other side of me, right? Like I personally think it's kind of strange. Like I think you shouldn't do that because I don't know. I think that it is not worth it. I think that like if you are like a person who does not need Adderall, who does not have a diagnosis for ADHD,
Right.
and you're not an undiagnosed person who maybe needs it, okay? You're not like a mystery person who maybe needed it all along. I'm saying you
A bisexual,
legitimately
right.
don't need it, like legit, and you want to use it against other players because you want to be a pro, then I think that's bad. I think it's okay to be not super bad. I personally I don't care that much, okay? But there is still a part of me and I think many people that align with the kind of well, whatever, but it's weird. I don't like it.
No, I mean that I think kind of wraps it up, which is like you don't like it. Personally, I don't think that is super persuasive. I think that this entire conversation is basically dominated by people bringing their priors in and being like, I'm sorry, it just feels wrong to me. And that's okay. You know, that's valid, but cannot be the foundational groundwork for any type of policy. And I think we've understood that it could never be really a policy. There could never be
I think there
anything that addresses this.
be a very easy policy if there was like more of like a perfect world, right? Like I think that it's easy.
Yeah, if we had socialized Medicare, it would be a lot easier.
Exactly.
But,
like that's like I know we eventually just kind of wrap up to if
step
we
one
weren't
to writing
in
the Adderall policy, overthrow capitalism.
Right. If we weren't in capitalist society, it would be like easy because medicine is free and like available to people because they need it for like help. And so it's really easy to just be like, oh,
well, again,
can you just not take the Adderall
well
for the fucking Yu-Gi-Oh tournament?
Check your prize here is like, do you think people should have the opportunity to take drugs recreationally? You know, like how many people do you know that were like, oh man, I just can't focus, my head's everywhere unless I like smoke before a local.
Well,
right?
I think that
You know?
I think that's a dangerous conversation because Konami, I feel, for example, boots players for many a reason that feel absolutely ridiculous to many of us, right? Like I think that there's a lot of like frustrations on many things that I can't really go into without them being, coming down my door and being like,
I don't know. I think most of the Konami ban policies are pretty understandable. I
Right.
disagree with a lot of them, but like
right.
the leak shit I get, like I understand the motivation for it.
Right. I just think that like they have done worse for very little. So I think that being like, maybe don't do the drugs at our tournaments, thanks, is like understandable. Like I don't think it'd be
Right.
I don't think it'd be implemented properly. I don't think it's a good idea.
It could be put in the rules for sure.
Right.
But there is I can't imagine a world in which you are able to draw a line that effectively boxes in people with ADHD who need it, people who are undiagnosed or unable to get it that can get it at events, and boxes out people who are doing it with some sort of malicious intent.
Well, yeah. That's hard to
You just
box
saying you
out.
can't be drunk at a tournament. I mean, that's just a completely different set of circumstances. And they aren't banning people who are drunk because they get so much better at Yu-Gi-Oh. They're banning them because they cause disruptions, you know? It's the reason you can't be visibly intoxicated is because it's a safety issue. It's not because you're going to fucking win everything.
Right. I think that's maybe a good way to kind of describe where it hits the nail on the head of it is a frustrating kind of thing to maybe learn that maybe the way you can obviously this isn't that true, but like if you take Adderall and you really go to a tournament and you do really well, like the Adderall helped you do better, can be kind of frustrating to hear if you're trying to get better at the game. And like a lot of the people who are really good at the game are like, yeah, like I need Adderall, regardless of if they have ADHD or not. And so that's, you're not like mad at them. You're just like, oh, huh.
this is just where we differ. Like, I, for you, hearing that causes a frustration. For me, it is no different than hearing someone be like, yeah, I made sure to get in early. I made sure to eat between rounds. I made sure to stay hydrated. I had friends scouting decks.
I don't know.
Like,
That's
none of
just
that
so.
strikes me as,
But that's like so much like less than drugs.
if
Like
I
Adderall,
said,
right?
in order to focus effectively, I need to pound, 4 monsters before I go
No,
into
you
the
can't
event.
make this argument. Like it's different. The caffeine is different from Adderall.
It is, you are right, it is. It is also the mechanism by which people who don't have access to Adderall occasionally self-medicate.
That's
It's the
fine.
closest
It's
analog I
not.
can throw up here, but for some reason it doesn't feel right. And I'm telling you, the reason it doesn't feel right isn't because like there's a logical inconsistency. It's because we have erected a barrier in our minds between legality and illegality, and crossing
Okay.
that barrier feels bad.
Let's take that example then. If someone actually was pounding 4, 5 monsters to do better than everyone else at a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, I would still think it's weird. Regardless of how much drugs it is, I'd be like, dude, that's crazy, right?
I don't know. No. I don't
Well,
think.
okay. Do you pound 5 monsters before specifically to be better?
No, I don't drink Monster at all because
Okay,
I
whatever it
value my
is,
body.
you don't drink 7 yerba mates to do better at the YCS, do you? You do it because
I
you're
do.
like,
Well,
I
hold
gotta
up.
wake
I
up.
do drink yerba mate,
I know.
and I do it in order to focus at an event.
No, you do it every day because you need it
I
because
do
you're
it
a
every day because
bisexual
it helps me
ADHD millennial.
focus. No, I don't have ADHD. But I do it and it helps me focus.
Right.
But if I, God forbid, topped a YCS and I was like, oh, shouts out to Yerba, wouldn't have been able to do it without you. People be justified for being like, that's fucked up, dude? That's like
No,
300
they wouldn't
milligrams
because
of
it's
caffeine.
caffeine. It's not Adderall.
Yes, because we have erected a border in our mind between things like caffeine, stimulants that we're okay with, and things like Adderall, stimulants we are not okay with, specifically based on legality.
Is it legality though? Can you say that for real?
Yes, the only argument against it
I
would
thought it
be
was. I thought.
long-term use. The only argument against it would be long-term use of Adderall has debilitating side effects, but fucking 40% of bisexual millennials with ADHD are on it daily. Like, we would know. And they shouldn't be. There we go. There it is. I knew we'd get it out of CJ eventually. That's right. Opposing my position means that you oppose
All
the
this
current
conversation
prescription
has done
regime.
for me is
If
swung me
opposing
so
me
far in
for
the
the
other
first
direction that I
time
think we should drug test
in
top cuts.
for the first time in MBT history, opposing me in this argument means you don't believe ADHD is real. Usually we're usually we're on the same
You're
side.
so annoying. Oh my god.
We've gotten CJ to the point where he is frothing in chat saying we are ruining a generation of people by getting them addicted to Adderall. Like, I want to remind everyone
there's a
that 10 minutes
discussion.
ago you were all like, wow, CJ's spitting facts.
Well, okay, hold on. That's like a different discussion and an interesting one to talk about of
But
like
it's the same discussion. It's all the same
no,
discussion.
stop
How we
it.
treat prescription medication, how we treat drugs and stimulants and their recreational use in America. It's all the same conversation. Socialized medicine, availability of recreational drugs, their use, their applications. It's all the same conversation because all things are the same conversation. They are a conversation about how we do not permit people to do what they want with their bodies. It is a fundamental conversation that underlies all other conversations about autonomy.
Okay, you are making very like large swathing statements about like the fact that all drugs and stuff were like none of this was researched, none of this was done with doctors and people who have done medical like have focused their entire lives on studying the effects of caffeine versus studying the effects of Adderall. Like, come on, like that just doesn't exist anywhere, that it's all a social construct and that we just decided that caffeine is like not as bad as Adderall. Like, there's no way.
In no way am I saying that X is less good for you than Y. I'm not trying to say that Adderall is going to cause fewer health complications than caffeine will, or vice versa, because I don't know that shit. I'm saying, as an individual, it is your right to use it the way you want. If you want to fuck up your body, I believe that is a right that you have.
Okay, but you also agreed earlier that you would not want a drug that impacts other people. When you take a drug specifically for a
It
tournament,
causes a disruption for other people.
yes, the
Surely you
disruption
can
is
see
that
there's a
you
difference
are
between
enhancing yourself.
the disruption is you're too good.
You're too good at this game,
Good.
bro.
No, dude. In that way, it is no different than a dozen other preparatory regimens, many of which include drugs that people do before tournaments, completely legally.
But you just keep conflating the preparations for a tournament or a competition with a heavily studied drug, right?
I
Like I
I
just
am
I
well,
you
heavily
can't
studied
make
is
like I
giving
just
it a
don't
lot of
think that's
leeway.
a fair comparison.
I am conflating overuse of caffeine with use of Adderall. That's what I'm comparing.
Oh my god, just like
I know Peeps is against me because as I speak, Peeps just like the more words he hears out of my mouth, the more he disagrees with me. That's just how his brain.
I
But
think
it's
the okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The study that I just think that there, or I know from studies that the risks of Adderall are high, much higher than the allowed kind of drugs we are allowed to consume and preparatory stuff you do before any kind of competition. If like if every like Olympic user was like doping on caffeine, and caffeine had the worse effects rather than Adderall, then they would have to kind of talk about like, do we allow caffeine at this tournament? And the
I'm sorry,
conversation becomes, yeah, we can't allow that if that drug becomes a kind of thing that everyone has to do to win, right?
uh, yeah, I just can't get my dick hard about conversations about the terrible evils that Adderall does to you when we're speaking about people taking it bi-monthly, one day of a month in a nation where millions of individuals take Adderall daily as part of a pharmaceutical regimen. I can't get my dick hard about what if Hani develops an incurable tumor. Like, I just don't think it's particularly realistic.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you think it's realistic or not. It's the classification of what scientists have
Okay,
studied for the drug. Like if they think,
you can
yeah,
tell me
regardless if people can,
that you can tell me it is dangerous for you to use. I am saying for people who are using it very rarely, I am not concerned relative to the millions of individuals who are using it daily in the United States. You can tell me it's bad for you and stuff. I'm going to say, well, if it's so bad, how come so many people are using it? Why would I be concerned about people who use it infrequently when there are millions who do it daily?
but aren't okay, but aren't those people diagnosed by a professional doctor?
But you're okay. You are saying that like it negates the side effects.
No,
If
no,
you
no.
are a
I'm not saying it
bisexual
negates the
millennial with
side effects.
ADHD and you have to have Adderall in order to curb your bisexual cravings, I know that's that's what it's used for. I'm pretty sure. Um, then it is still going to affect your heart the same way. It is still going to affect your bloodstream the same way. You're talking about behavioral changes, and the side effects are like seizures.
But that's a risk you can take when speaking with your doctor and they say, here are the things that might happen. I still think it's worth it for you to live and live your life comfortably
You are
because you
not. I'm
have
sorry.
this problem.
You understand how this sounds, right?
No.
You will get hooked on Adderall and die. You're out of your mind.
No,
It's
no, 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 no,
Ronald
no, no, no.
Reagan
I'm
and the
not saying
tall
that.
of me.
I'm
You
just
are
saying,
crazy.
I'm not saying it's gonna make you die. I'm just saying that it is a conversation you should have with someone who has experience studying these kinds of medicines. You should have a conversation with your doctor to see if you need it to live your life. Because, for example, I was diagnosed with millennial bisexual ADHD.
Right,
And
of course.
my therapist was like, "Do you need a prescription?" Like, she said, "You are not that bad. You have lived your life pretty comfortably, doing what you need to do, masking whatever, and fixing your life where it needs to fix, so that you can live
He was like, you
comfortably."
seem straight.
And the recommendation was, if and by every single person who takes ADHD meds has told me, I've asked many people, doctors, friends, etc. They're like, please, if you don't need it, don't take it. Really, I legitimately have been recommended this, and because of those recommendations, I have ADHD and I do not take a stimulant like Adderall and Vyvanse, and
Oh,
so
you should get a prescription and sell them at YCS's.
like I don't know what to tell you, man. This is like it is the if this is a drug that has been studied, that is like, yeah, I think that doctors should kind of, this is a controlled substance due to the studies we've done with doctors and scientists and professionals, and they say, yeah, I misuse of Adderall could be absolutely dangerous. We should try and only prescribe it to people who legitimately need this, rather than someone who is like, I just want it. I just want to
Right.
recreationally change my body.
I I completely understand that. I agree with that entirely. Right? The
What's the
the
but?
problem is, well, yeah, the but here is, I do not think it is comparable. Say a doctor saying, maybe don't take one Adderall a day for the rest of your life. It will have negative health effects. As the same punch as someone being like, I will take Adderall probably 14 days total for the remainder of my life. Like, when doctors are telling you the side effects of Adderall, they're not saying, if you take it once, you're going to go down a dark road. They're
Sure.
saying you are about to be on an amphetamine every day for the remainder of your life. That comes with downsides. These people are taking it sparingly at events specifically.
But I understand that. And I understand what you're saying in the fact that you're not worried about these players. I'm also not worried about them. I still don't like, I still think that they are circumventing the diagnosis, right? Like, we
I
can agree
agree.
that
I
they are
think that that's
circumventing the
good.
diagnosis from a professional doctor. So regardless of how fine they'll be, you are okay with them taking the drug on purpose to win the competition undiagnosed.
This is why, well, the reason that we're having the discussion about estrogen at the start of this is because it's a perfect analog.
No, it's not.
You are allowed to circumvent diagnoses, I believe. How many
I
people
think
do you
that
know?
too. If you're a trans woman who needs to
Yeah,
kind of live her
how
life, or
about
live
if
her
you are
his
an
life,
undiagnosed how
trans
about
man.
if you are an undiagnosed ADHD person? Are you allowed to circumvent an
No, no.
diagnosis?
Now we're circling back to people who are undiagnosed, who ADHD, people who need the drug. I am talking about people who are not ADHD, who do not have
No,
it.
let's just get to the core of this. Why do you think a diagnosis is necessary? Because the way that you're construing it, it sounds as if you think a diagnosis is necessary because you need to sit down with a doctor and talk about the risks of something.
Yes. I mean, I think that it can be dangerous and rough, but maybe sometimes necessary to do a self-diagnosis. And if you need it and you figured out by yourself that you kind of need it, that is a risk you can take, and that's okay. I think that's still fine. It doesn't have to be with a doctor, but I'm just
See,
saying
you're
that.
like you're coming up against the inconsistency here yourself, which is you cannot believe that doctors misdiagnose and deliberately cut people off from medications, and that you have an obligation to pursue a diagnosis for use of a controlled substance.
Right. But what I'm saying is, if it's for it is not because you are trying to better yourself recreationally. Like I need this drug to feel better in my day-to-day life. That's different from I want this drug to win a competition.
So now we're just back to a discussion of intent, which is there exists some sort of competitor who is thinking to themselves, I won't be able to win this event unless I do Adderall, in which case I will be able to win this event. And there is no way to get inside that person's head and ensure that that's what they're doing. So I'm uncomfortable making blanket statements about Adderall use at events as a result of that.
I mean,
MBT, what are your thoughts about the opioid crisis? How is that any different than this conversation? What a wonderful, insane question, CJ. The opioid crisis was a result of doctors overprescribing opiates. This is a conversation about people who are taking things without a prescription. Thank you.
okay, so I just like I do, but intent does matter, right? Like I think that for a competition specifically, intent does matter.
I think intent matters for some deep, like, internal reason, right? Like you want to be able to say two people can do the exact same thing, but if one harbors ill in his heart, then they're bad,
No,
and
but
the other
it's
one
not
is fine.
just ill. There's action to it.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, two people can pursue the exact same action, and you can be like, one of them's wrong and one of them's right, and the difference is one of them, in a way that's not visible to anyone, has hate in their heart, and that is a sort of calculation that I am not comfortable making.
Sure, but I mean,
It matters to me if the person has the wrong intent, they go to jail. You can't jail someone on a fucking mens rea.
Well,
You can't just be like, they're thinking badly, put them in prison. Otherwise, your ass would be rotting. You'd be doing 10 to life, asshole. You need an act.
I think that I understand what you're saying. I get that thought policing is hard, dumb, and possibly not correct. But it's more. I'm saying it's more than just thought policing. There's two kind of like there's the thought and then the action. So there is the intent, which is the first thing, and I can't thought police people who want to cheat. If you want to cheat, that's just a thought in your head. Then there's the action. I get the drug to cheat. Not because I have Adderall, not because I have ADHD, not because I'm an undiagnosed bisexual millennial, but I'm completely fine. But I'm even better when I'm on this drug, so I will do this. That's intent alongside action.
There's probably some like caricature of an evil person twirling a mustache thinking that. But more realistically, what's going to happen is the people who participate in this are going to throw up mental models, right? They're going to throw up blocks that justify their behavior. They're not going to think, I'm going to cheat.
Sure.
They're going to think, remaining focused is not the same as cutting to a specific card.
Sure.
It's not the same as stacking. It's not the same as hiding shit in my sleeves. Additionally, I focus better when I'm on Adderall. Does that mean that I have undiagnosed ADHD? Honestly, who's to say? I certainly have had trouble focusing my entire life. Maybe I am just leveling the playing field relative to neurotypical individuals, right? These are things these people will tell themselves in order to justify this, and they are no different than the thought process that is engaged with if you are an undiagnosed bisexual millennial with ADHD.
Well,
The only difference is that for some reason, it is not allowed for some deep reason that can't be elucidated or policed.
I want to focus on what you said, which is the person saying all those things to like defend themselves, right? Like you can see kind of what you just said sounds like someone who is trying to defend their actions, right? Like if you're like, well, maybe I needed it anyway. I don't know. Like, man, not everyone does ADHD. So, like, these all sound like things you are telling yourself that it's okay to do when, like, the intent is that you want to do better at a tournament. So and specifically with like Adderall, so you take it, right? And I think that if you're making those decisions, that's okay. And I think you should also talk to a doctor or someone, or try to figure out if you have ADHD or not. But doing so in defense of your decision to like ask people for Adderall is not good. I think you should get it, not through
Why?
the decision making of like, well, I need it anyway, and I don't know, people take it, and pros need it, so like I need it.
We started this discussion with you being like, people who are undiagnosed are permitted to self-diagnose.
Well, yes, but there's a difference between someone attempting to self-diagnose, like
No,
for
but what I'm
themselves.
telling you is these people aren't thinking of it post hoc to justify something they already tried to do. They are making the same calculation that people who are self-diagnosing are. They are saying, well, if I'm focusing better with Adderall, then I probably do need it, which is something you've said multiple times over the course of the night is a justifiable position.
Right, but I'm just telling you that it is odd to me if you're using it kind of as a defense mechanism rather than eventually kind of understanding yourself. I think there, yes, I think it's fine if you're trying to understand yourself and
we've been attacking them all night.
no, I'm saying that like
Well, Chad has.
there's an understanding between someone kind of realizing they need it and being like, wow, like maybe I do need this medicine because it's kind of life changing, and someone who's like using all those statements as defense mechanisms to continue to be better at tournaments or whatever. Like they don't care about actually getting a diagnosis or getting the medicine to help their lives. They only do it at Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments or something like that.
Well,
Whatever. Like I'm saying that's the difference. Like if you naturally come up to that, okay. Let me give you a better player that I think would be completely fine in my eyes. If a player comes up and is like, oh, everyone needs Adderall to win, I'm gonna take Adderall. They take Adderall, they suddenly feel like it's life changing. They're like, whoa, I feel a lot better with this. Like, not just Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I can focus. I remembered my stuff today. Like, whoa, maybe I should actually like figure this out. And they do it and they do good at the tournament. Honestly, I'm fine with that. And then they realize they need help and they need ADHD meds and they go to their doctor and they get meds. Great, I'm fine with that.
I mean,
I'm okay
let's
with
explore. Let's explore someone similar. Let's say someone in a similar position to you, where like they don't feel comfortable being on Adderall long term because maybe a doctor told them it has debilitating effects, right?
Sure.
They're old. They're like our age, 40, 45.
Okay, man.
And they think, you know what? I have built my life in such a way that I think it is better for me to just continue the coping mechanisms that I have constructed than to get on a pharmaceutical,
Sure.
right? But when they go to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, a YCS is a really overwhelming experience, and you have to play the lawyer game for 9 rounds straight. What if they think to themselves, damn, here is a place where I feel like the coping strategies that I've developed to do my spreadsheet job aren't sufficient.
Wait.
I could really use an Addy.
Can you
Then they take one
clarify?
and perform one.
Did the doctor say that like you could take it, but we don't recommend it or something?
Let's just say the doctor is just super non-committal about it. What if the doc? You know what? Actually,
Okay.
I've had people tell me this. What if the doctor straight up said no? Doctor's like, no, we generally don't like to prescribe Adderall to people who are over the age of 27 because it won't be more effective than the coping mechanisms you've already developed.
Oh.
A ton of people who have gone in for ADHD screening have come back with that, in my experience.
Okay, sure. So they
let's say-
technically, but they do have ADHD.
Oh, let's say the doctor was like, let's say the doctor was unwilling to
inching
diagnose.
ever closer to a status that I like, because the scenario you described before, I would
Right,
be
let's
fine
say,
with.
let's say instead of the doctor even giving the ADHD test, the person comes in and says, "Hey, I've been feeling overwhelmed. I was wondering if something like Adderall would be right for me." Instead of administering the test, this is a thing that does happen. The doctor says, "In general, we don't like to prescribe long-term ADHD medication to people who are over the age of 27. If you feel overwhelmed, the coping strategies you've developed will be more effective than any drug." And the conversation ends. And let's say you go to a YCS, you feel insanely overwhelmed, and you have to play the lawyer game for 9 rounds. and you go, damn, I could use an Adderall. You pop one.
That's fine.
You're focused, alert, and completely okay for the entire day.
That's fine.
And you end up topping the event.
I'm okay
That's
with
fine.
that.
That is. All right.
But I mean, it's not fair because the scenario he describes kind of sounds like someone who was like weirdly diagnosed, had a bad diagnosis, and was maybe convinced that they probably should have had maybe a Adderall or something when they kind of got misdiagnosed, and in another world where they saw a more competent doctor was like, no, you should have it, like you should take it and take it for these things.
We've spent 45 minutes talking about hypothetical men.
Sure.
But to kind of wrap this up, I do want to say this conversation, with respect to the last 45 minutes, I think has illustrated the invisible and myriad of ways in which ADHD diagnosis, non-diagnosis, socialized medicine, lack of care, all kind of intersect to create a scenario where I don't feel comfortable ever policing anyone's Adderall use at a YCS.
I get where you're coming from. I understand. I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard. Like, I guess this is where I just end that I'm like, it's weird to me. Personally, I would never do that because it just goes against
It's fine to be weird to you. It is weird.
Like, I think that's because there's no real way to
Wait, this guy
police it.
rocks. Hold up. MBT is Chi Longwan Yu-Gi-Oh! Who said it needed to be policed? Just make it a policy.
Based.
Yeah, genius, dude.
Bigger.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going.
That's such a good name for chat. No, just like, I understand what you're saying, and I think that the idea of policing it is, I think just it is a level above what I care about for the game. Personally, I think that it's maybe more, in my head, a bit of a myth. I mean, obviously, some people definitely do it, whatever. Like, you probably have ADHD. Like, who cares?
No,
but it feels so fantastical to think of a world where like Konami or whatever policy that they implement would be like very good and ethical and very
There's no
very
way.
nice
Yeah,
and very communicative and very forgiving for players. Like, no fucking way. So I get it. Like, from that angle, I do agree that it just feels so impossible to implement that there's just not a world where I could ever imagine it to be real. I think I'm just more arguing the concept of maybe more like it's hard to not compare this to kind of the Olympics, right? And to things like that are much more like stakes are on the line, money's on the line, advertisements are on the line, yada yada. Even in chess,
despite
for example,
the fact that there's no money on the line.
I mean, like, even
Yeah.
in chess,
No,
for example, like, I think players, very, very high performing chess players can like make, their rent off it or whatever, and their food and etc. And so it's hard to like I don't blame them for trying to be like, okay, try it, like, please don't, or whatever. But for Yu-Gi-Oh specifically, it is just like not well run, and so I agree
I mean,
that it's just it would be an impossible thing to kind of try to police. And so I do like the Konami approach, at least for this specifically, I guess, of we won't look, but don't be stupid, I guess, which entails the kind of policies of like being drunk, etc.
I wanna be completely honest here. Like, we are talking specifically about a weird utopia because I think we can recognize that the way things are set up, there is no way for Konami to police this in a way that doesn't hurt a bunch of people who just have ADHD.
Yeah, because they'll never do it right.
Right, yeah. There is no way to crack down on this in a way that doesn't hurt people with ADHD, or at minimum create an incredible privacy violation. And personally, it also rankles with my just sort of general belief that I think people should be permitted to do what they want with their bodies.
I understand that kind of affects your
The reason
worldview, which I appreciate, and I think that's maybe there's something to be said about I would rather have that maybe just for this scenario specifically than the opposite of show me, like, you gotta show me your drug test before you play fucking Blue Eyes White Dragon.
That's that's Biden's future, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like that,
I
like I understand what you're coming from. That's just like,
yeah.
you know,
And if the downside here is that like 5 pros who are already strung out as fuck continue to be more strung out at events, like, oh shit, that's crazy. You know what would help a lot of these pros a lot more than Adderall is eating a balanced diet. One pro in particular.
when you said fucking the one person who really shouldn't do this, and I
Is
1,000%
DBG
agree, is
because
DB Grinder, because that man's diet would be 40% Adderall, 60% Slim Jims.
if you live in that gas station gut.
Sorry, 40% Slim Jims, 20% fish sticks, and like,
Oh my God.
what was it? It was like I think it was
The-
a tartar sauce, right? On the
I was
plate.
gonna say, I think his shits are like the tartar sauce functions as a glue.
Do you
Like,
think
if-
he's
if the
ever
tartar sauce-
experienced a ghost wipe in his life?
I think DBG may not shit. Like, I think it's one of those scenarios where, you know, if you're really fat and then you stop eating, your body will consume its own like fat reserves. I think that happens with DBG, where like he eats 3 fish sticks a day and his body's like, no, dude, we have to take everything out of this. Like, I know there's like no nutritional content, but we got to throw like the fucking sawdust they put in Gorton's fish fillets down to the kidneys. They got to do something with this. We need some sort of caloric intake.
He's like fucking like the mud man.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think this has been an interesting conversation, and I
Yeah.
think it, you know, as stupid as it sounds, you know, should you take drugs to play children's card game? I think it does kind of touch on a lot of, you know, it's stupid, but it does touch on a lot of issues of like, you know, medical care and
Yeah.
disclosure and competition and shit like that.
Well,
And,
it
you know, the
it
fact that
does.
the fact that the Olympics is rankling with this as well, I think is just evidence that it's a hard conversation. And people were talking a lot about how chess banned Adderall, but like then they were talking about how chess also banned caffeine in large doses. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm not comfortable with that. I think that sucks.
I think that's a little fucking come on, but I think it is an important discussion that does draw into kind of the healthcare of like ADHD, et cetera, because you do get people who maybe get frustrated, like Leah, et cetera, who, you know, maybe like even if they don't know, still feel slighted, even if they're not technically slighted by the pill pressers or whatever, can still feel frustrated regardless that like someone got, like, I understand if someone, like, if you need it and then someone used it for a tournament, regardless if they need it or not, feel frustrated, like, fuck, I need it. You know, like I really do need it, you know, like regardless of if they're using it for
No,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
I
Or
understand
not.
that
Like I
frustration for sure.
absolutely understand someone who comes in that's just like, well, fuck, dude, I need it. Like I have such trouble kind of like living my life, and it helps me function. Obviously, you know, Jillian, a great example of someone who, yeah, like has wildly changed her whole world, who is able to function kind of much more efficiently now. I would be like, you know, I get being annoyed, and I can't fault those people who are like, man, fuck you. Do you
Everyone
think?
lost their fucking mind over this, though. They're very stupid.
Yeah. I do love everyone's like, well, it's not 90%, you know. And as soon as
was
someone
funny.
said that,
I
you were
can't
like,
believe
oh,
people
I'm
were
so
like- I
sorry,
was like, come on,
100%.
man.
My bad. I was undershooting it.
No, I will hold fast on 30. I think it's 30.
30 is
There's
fine.
a bunch of European pros who are like, that's ridiculous, but it's like, it's just different in Europe.
Hey,
There's
man,
just not
yeah,
available.
this is
You guys
America
don't understand.
problem.
You people don't even have ibuprofen. I've been over there. You're all on paracetamol. You don't understand the drugs we have over here. It's unbelievable.
Dude, we'll eat anything here.
We put ibuprofen in the water. We put Adderall in our fucking Big Mac. Ozempic in
Leo
the
is like,
Chick-fil-A.
they gotta start putting, if Ozempic's okay for you, they gotta start putting that shit in the water. Or maybe that was you who said that.
That was me.
Oh,
yeah.
it was
I
you.
believe it too.
If they figure out Ozempic's fine for you, they got to put that in American water ASAP. They got people to stop. They got people to keep their teeth okay because they put fucking fluoride in the water.
Yeah, that's something Britain doesn't have. Nice teeth, bitch. I tell you, I was at that wedding last weekend and someone started talking to me about fluoride in the water.
No.
We were talking about well water and like we were on well water and it sucks, right?
Yeah.
And I was just lamenting it. I'm like, oh, fucking well water, am I right? And they were like, yeah, but at least you don't have to worry about the fluoride. And I went, hello? Yes. Keep talking.
Wait, so they were like they don't have fluoride in their water, and they were like, that's awesome. I'm confused.
Yes.
Wait, yeah.
They were like, no, yeah, you shouldn't have to have. Oh my god, I just realized I don't have fluoride in my water.
What? Oh,
It's well water.
because it's well water.
Fuck. That's why my teeth feel funny.
Oh my
I
god.
feel like I'm brushing them every fucking day. Like every 2 or 3 times a day.
Oh my
I'm like,
god.
why am I brushing my teeth so much?
You got to fluoride treat your water, bro.
I may already be doing that. I'll have to go check.
Your calcified pineal gland is aching for fluoride. Wait, Impulse is $60? I'm going to shoot myself.
What is?
It's Impulse, Dominus Impulse.
Oh, well, here, I have a good solution for
Yeah.
you. Don't play that ass tier card.
Do you think it's bad?
I think you should buy it.
Well, I didn't say that.
It's not good.
That reminds me of the
Well,
scene from
let me
Shrek
ask you.
2.
Let me ask you. What are you trying to play it in?
Can't like Rescue Ace play it?
Oh yeah, oh boy, Rescue Ace. Oh,
It
oh,
top.
oh, good.
It was top
Rescue Ace.
32.
Yeah, more like top
42.
30.
42.
Those Rescue Ace players were on Adderall. That's the only reason. If you take Adderall, you don't open any of the back row.
Yeah, I'm just imagining a pro taking Adderall, and Pac just tweets out like, "I just bricked. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm hopped up on Addy. This is a joke."
What if you just like you open up a hand and it's like extinguish, contain, let's say the fire engine,
Yeah,
and then like
the
2
ad from
hand traps.
Brave.
And you
Yeah.
just get it, you're like, give me a sec. You reach into your bag, you pop an Addy, and the cards go hydrant,
cross out, turbulence,
cross out.
emergency, Nibiru.
I would talk more about how Adderall users are ontologically evil. That's the thing. Many of you are falling for the trick. The trick.
What is the trick?
The trick is you just, because of the legality regime, you just feel there's something wrong with it. You know?
There's nothing wrong with it, but I do think, I don't know. I just feel like you're playing down like doctors' studies a lot.
Yeah, I fucking hate doctors.
I mean, that's true. But
you know
okay,
why,
let me
you know why I
rephrase.
don't
Let me
trust
rephrase.
doctors, Danny?
I
You ready for me to tell you why I don't trust the medical establishment?
All
All those motherfuckers railed Adderall all through med school.
True. Hold up. You're kind of cooking now. Wait, hold up.
Yeah,
W,
dude, come
Joseph.
on.
W. Beast mode. That's my favorite thing where Eddie Gramenta will like quote tweet like Biden being like, there are 7 genders, Jack. And he'll be like, beast.
Donald Trump, he's more out of sorts than Rudy Donkless,
Beast.
my favorite baseball player from the 30s.
Beast
He'll be
mode.
like, beast mode. Beast mode engaged. He's not coming back from that shit. Ugh.
Oh my god. All right, go to bed.
Okay.
You should sleep.
I am gonna go sleep. I will go sleep. But
Mm-hmm.
before I go to bed, I do want to ask you,
Yeah.
in a similar vein to how you think Adderall is a PED and anyone who uses it should be executed.
Yeah.
Do you think that heat suppressants for omegas fall into the same category, or should you be forced to play like kind of, squirming in your chair and trying not to notice that your opponent's like,
Yeah, go on.
like an alpha who's ready to rut, and like maybe you're just staring at a hand of like poplar ash, and you're like, oh my god, I'm just not gonna win this one because I'm so inferior to this masculine man across the table.
And they like,
And you can see that your opponent isn't even really looking at the Yu-Gi-Oh cards anymore. He's looking at you, and he's licking his lips. And
they're like flexing, like,
you should ask Leah this question. I think she'll have an answer.
oh, that's a good idea. I should do that ASAP.
Oh, last thing. So I'm prepping to nut, right? Sorry, let me rephrase that.
What a start to a sentence. Yeah.
We're
I'm
trying
locked
for
in.
a baby. And one thing that they said is, we're now far along enough in the process where they're like, hey, okay, let's get some baselines in terms of like sperm count and shit. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to come in a cup? Shit. And so they were like, when you go to come in a cup, do not come for 5 days. And I'm like, you're telling me the semen retention people were right? They're like, don't come for 5 days. I'm like, it's gonna come out like a brick, dude.
You're like, dude, you're gonna get too much sample, if you know what I'm saying. Like, we be covering walls at the testing center, dude.
Can you at least give me some heat suppressants? Legitimately. Okay, do you think not jacking off before a tournament makes you better or worse?
Oh, worse, because all you could do is think about jacking off. Like,
yeah, I jack off in between every round.
You go to like the tournament stalls and you're like
shit ass bathroom where like 400
all right, JOI time. I got my headphones in, I'm locked in.
Yeah. Oh my god. I can goon anywhere though, is the thing. I could probably goon at locals. It's like, what's he doing over in the corner? Oh, he's just sorting bulk.
If you know what I'm saying. If you guys want to sort bulk later, let me know.
All right, I've ruined this stream for you. Good night.
Good night. Oh my god. Stupid fucking. Oh my god. I was supposed to open Alestrals tonight. God, I hate him. He took 2 hours of my fucking stream. I need to charge my Clearby stream.